calibrated, right? And I wanted to run down there and, you know, grab them out of the trucks and say hi to everybody, you know, and get them ready to get shipped off. And I asked, you know, hey, if you take my temperature and I wear a mask, you know, can I do that? And they were like, nope, we got this. We'll do that for you. You know, my director, he was just like, no reason for you to be in the building, man. You just, you know, I got this, you know.
Well, it's a little bit of a liability there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, they're erring on the side of caution. I was just, I just wanted to do something besides sit in this office, quite frankly.
Dude,
I mean, what
it was like I was on vacation. It was like when I went back into work, it was like I was on vacation, you know, leaving this house. I spent 2 weeks here, hadn't went anywhere. Just going into the office was a break, you know. Ron allows us to be in there, but there's rarely more than 6 or 8 people in the whole building at one time, you know.
Right, right. Well, like Jim just said, you know, A, there's a liability. B, there was no reason. He you know, Chad's there. He could easily go get the 700s, you know, get them ready and get them shipped off to get calibrated. So, you know, in the long run, err on the side of caution. But I'm probably going to be home. I'm going to that virtual conference next couple weeks. And, you know, looking at the budget, looking at the numbers, that's probably about all I'm going to be able to do. Unless, you know, something, which a lot changes, doesn't it? Right. You know, but unless something changes, that's about all I'm going to be able to do. Then I'll be laying off as well and just waiting to find out what the heck's going on, you know.
Hey, you know, if you get just one of those DG700 calibrated, you can use it to check the rest of them. You don't have to do all of them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I misspoke. Because that's how I got spurred on when I attended their thing, you know, and I actually asked him because I had heard the rumor that they just weren't doing that anymore. And he was like, oh, no, we'll be doing that for forever. That's not a problem. And he clued me in on, well, reminded me about using the one to calibrate the others. But I think ours were like 2012 when I started working there. So, you know, I was like, well, you know, I try to do things right. So let's get these calibrated as quick as we can. No better time than the current time.
Yeah.
You guys hear anything at all? Even, I mean, I don't know. There's probably a lot of people listening, so.
Supposed to be a DOE thing today.
Pardon me?
Wait for him to swallow, so.
Oh, okay. Hi, Jamie.
Hey.
Ron was supposed to have a DOE thing today.
Yeah, I'm going to be a fly on the wall. Well, actually, no, because I got my hours in. I'll probably watch it on record. But that's what they are going to kind of address some of that stuff today from what you're hearing, Jim.
I imagine they will be.
Yeah, I would too.
You want a piece of sausage?
Yes, I do, Dave.
Moxie, she wants a piece of sausage.
Oh, well, get Moxie some sausage. There's Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Still doing this whole phone thing.
Yeah.
Gotta keep my baby happy, man.
Monday.
Everybody say hi to Mox.
Hey, Moxie.
Hey, Moxie.
Look over here. See, Jim? Buddy. She's my buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, Cole.
How's it going, guys?
Old King Cole?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Cole.
Whoa. It's official.
Hey.
Yeah. I also, is Devin on yet?
Haven't heard from him.
I got a mysterious full zip hoodie that I didn't order in a woman's size. I'm gonna guess.
Oh,
I'm gonna guess.
that's probably Alyssa's.
Oh, I thought it was a tax for ordering it. Someone got to take one of my things. Oh, fair enough.
Is it like that one I wear?
It is.
Yeah, that's Alyssa was liking it, and I think they ordered one for her.
There it is.
Yeah, that's probably Alyssa.
Yeah, a little too shapely for me.
You can check with Devin, but I'm pretty sure it's hers.
It's kind of like whatever.
And look at this. Terry's actually going to do it right this time. She's going to do it with her laptop.
Yeah, she did last time too.
And you can't be walking around in your house coat.
Yeah, that's what I can't believe Ryan doesn't wear a robe every day. The most shocking thing isn't that he smokes a pipe, but that he's not wearing a robe.
I smoke, yeah, the red velvet, whatever.
Either way, that's what you should. Yours should be like a full-length shot, slippers and a robe and a pipe.
Mm.
Hey, expand
Just-
that PowerPoint out.
The good thing is we're just not seeing anything below the waist because I'm sure he's in his boxers. So
Yeah,
I am
please
not.
don't
I'm
stand up.
I'm wearing shorts today.
Not all cleaned up for us.
Yeah. Well, I got to put on shorts or pants, a fresh pair, by the way, every day because if you don't, the waistline gets a little hard to track. Make sure that
High
button's not
standards.
too hard to button. Hi, Terry.
More information than I want to hear.
You know
Good
you
morning.
What are you doing?
Moxie's like, "You're home, Dad," but you keep
Yeah,
talking to that computer. So
She's getting restless. She's wondering what the heck I'm doing. Dad's cheese done slid off his cracker there.
yeah.
Your comment to both furnaces.
Ooh, that's what I should do.
Dave, I'm really looking forward to going back in Monday and finishing up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put them videos into the PowerPoint either today or sometime this weekend and try to buffer them. I'm gonna get with you because I don't remember where we went to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, that made all the
initialize them
difference.
or whatever that was called.
Yeah, that's good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Do you need to go outside? 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 Go on.
Man, I should have combed my hair.
Yeah, getting to be kind of scraggly looking there, buddy.
I know it, man. My ears was itching, and it was because my hair's touching them,
all
man.
right.
Hey, take a trip down to Georgia and be able to get your hair cut.
Yeah, right on, man. Might just do that.
They're standing in line, and most of them not wearing masks. I don't see where to get my hair cut and worried about dying from a disease. Is that so
Yeah.
important?
Is it supposed to be gloomy all day like this?
Yeah, sort of.
Did all my time sheets and things this morning about 7:30. So Terry didn't get in trouble for me not having my time submitted.
Thank you. The scars are getting pretty deep on my back. I don't want to be whipped anymore.
I haven't done mine all week. I was waiting for her to get in trouble.
Oh! Oh, Mr. Hall.
I even sent Mary a text.
To get me in trouble?
Won't get a paycheck.
You are a
said-
cruel dude.
She said she'd give me a bonus.
You're so bad.
I told her the boots are in there.
Did you show her that that your boat fund is also on my budget?
I was going to put that on my timesheet.
Okay.
Donations.
Or are you just working toward your boat fund? Is that it?
It's sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the boat's in there. I might try to run out to Rudy's, do some mushroom hunting out there.
I'd like to see them big yellow ones that be up down in here today. I'm gonna walk
I
down
seen on
there.
Facebook there, one of them guys that went out and found 850 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Is that in Ohio?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, if I find any today, Jim, I'll drop some off over at your place in a baggie. Anyway, because I still have some in the refrigerator to cook tonight.
Did Cole like his first morel
You
mushroom?
wear anything left on your porch in a baggie.
I was blown away. I cannot eat mushrooms at all, but boy, those were really delicious. It's like the lobster of the land.
They're good,
Well-
man. They sell them up in Columbus, something like $50 a pound for them dudes, man.
When we was kids, we used to sell them to the stores.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not much into selling them. I just soon give them away to somebody that don't get a chance to get out there and get them.
And when you're 16 years old and you got people buying mushrooms.
Oh yeah. If I
all
was
you got to
16,
do.
I damn sure would have sold them.
I bought bicycles with it.
Hell yeah.
Now, down in Kentucky, they call it land fishing.
I thought it was pretty funny that Easter Sunday I was down there picking mushrooms, doing some adult Easter egg hunting or whatnot, you know.
I think this afternoon's going to be a good afternoon to take a nap from the looks outside here. So
I agree. I just can't hardly nap. I lay down on the couch and then all of a sudden I get this feeling that I should be doing something. Then I get up and I do stuff.
Get over that guilt feeling.
I know.
Get over that stuff. You won't be able to become an old man if you keep feeling like that.
I know.
Man, I just first tuned in and I hear Dave say, I just can't take naps, boy. Saturday afternoon, naps the best thing in the world. Morning.
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 Deb. Remember, Dave, you're a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah, I know.
Did you order Alyssa a hoodie? Devin,
What's that?
did you order Alyssa a hoodie?
Yes.
Yeah, Cole has it.
Okay. I forgot that was in there.
I remember you talking about it. She was
Yeah.
saying she wanted one.
How'd they turn out, Cole?
Really nice. I didn't get the that hoodie on because I saw that the shape of it was not going to support my
Yeah.
my shape.
Just the next time, just put it in her mailbox.
Okay. Wait, on the mailbox?
Yeah, where the printer is at the office.
Yep. All right.
I'll let her know it'll be there sometime next week. I forgot we even got that.
Yeah, she's not in there every day, I don't think.
No, usually about 2 days a week.
What the heck?
Hey, I got a fishing video I could put on there.
That's, better use that if it keeps raining like this. You won't be able to do any actual fishing.
Yeah, I know, man. The creeks are back up again.
Man, I'm glad I mowed my grass the other day, or it would be extremely tall by the time we're able to mow.
Yeah, that was my all-day task Tuesday, I think, when it was nice. Well, all afternoon.
Yeah, I'm glad I got mine cut.
Yeah, mine was last Sunday.
Well, you'll be neat whenever there's a clear day and it ain't mucky again, which will be a while. That happens this time of year, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Nationwide sending me a $50 check too. These people are getting pretty generous.
Yeah.
Is that towards your car insurance that you're not driving?
Yeah, said it's gonna be $50 a month for the next 3 months.
Huh?
My insurance would do that.
Damn, I got Progressive. I'm gonna have to give him a call.
Progressive and State Farm are supposed to be doing it,
Huh?
but I think theirs is a little higher.
Maybe Tracy's holding out on me.
Yeah, Dave, I got Progressive too, and I heard that it was just automatically happening.
Oh, well, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
just about all the insurance companies are doing that. I got Allstate, they're doing it too. So
They actually give you a check, or they just take it off your bill?
I thought they was gonna take it off my bill, but I got an email yesterday that said that keep an eye out for the mailbox in the next couple of days.
Heck yeah.
I think Allstate
Yeah,
just took it off my bill. So
I'm paid through the year, so I would assume they'll probably do like Jim just said, send me a check, I guess. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Well, you won't have to pay anything next year.
Yeah, either way is fine with me.
Every little bit helps.
You
Yeah.
bet, man.
Put that towards the Jim Hall boat fund.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, though, that's probably just minuscule to all the money they're saving in claims and stuff. There's nobody traveling or anything.
That's what they were saying. They were making a substantial profit right now.
Yeah. Hell, I'm probably getting like 4 days to the gallon on my car.
Yeah.
I'm getting
I'm getting about 30 days to the gallon. I haven't really gone anywhere for a month.
I went into the office every day for about the last 2 weeks.
Make sure you charge Terry mileage.
Nah, I can't do that.
She didn't react. She's
That's
either
right.
ignoring me.
No, Dave's there to protect me. I know who's out to get me now, Ryan.
Yeah, you've always known. Hey, his official work site, is now home. So yeah, I'll get you a lawyer, Dave. I'll get
Right
you
on.
mileage.
I'll never charge mileage ever again.
Why? Well, maybe I won't pull at that thread, Devin.
Yeah, don't pull at that one.
You know what? We'll talk offline about that, Devin. You'll have to deal with it.
You gotta go with Jim's approach. The mileage is in there.
Yeah.
Precisely. The boots are on the check.
Boots are in there.
Yep, the boat's in there.
Good to see you, GH.
It's good to be seen. Above ground and not looking at the roots.
Yep.
You look fine today, young man.
Well, I had to slick down my bed hair since I'm going to start looking like an old beach bum or hippie, one or the other. I don't know. Beach bum sounds better. I always thought that when I was younger that the old hippies were kind of ridiculous, so I don't want to fall into that. But old beach bums are pretty solid. If I can only get back to the beach.
Yeah. We got a trip planned in August, but I'm not sure it's going to happen now.
Shit, I'm not sure my next one in October is going to happen yet.
Yeah.
Just have to wait and see.
I just got a thing in this morning, an email from my CEU for my state license. He's already starting to move his classes up now.
They still sell fishing license, or can you just go without one?
Yeah, I just go online and get mine.
Oh, I didn't even know if they were. I mean, I wondered if they had anybody doing that. I guess if they can make a buck, they will, huh?
Yeah, a lot of that's just computer driven though.
Yeah.
I can print you one out. Just put your name on
Hey, that sounds like a winner. I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna need one of those too.
it.
They used to give old people free fishing licenses. Now they don't.
Yeah, at a certain age here. Well, yeah, they used to. I don't know if they still do.
No, they don't. I can tell you they don't.
He said, I done tried.
Yeah, I mean, I got my last year's ones, $10.
They're 25 this year.
Well, mine's 10. That's the
Old man price.
folks price, yeah. They figure they got enough money out of me over the years.
Hey, Devin, did your pear tree blossom this year?
Yeah.
Did it?
It does every year.
I mean, but did the frost get it, you think?
I don't think so.
Oh, good.
I don't think
I'll be
so.
hitting you up for some pears coming in the year.
Last year, the first 2 years I were here, there were lots of them, but they remained very small. They're getting bigger and bigger over the years. Very weird, but yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, how'd yours do the other night, GH? Your fruit trees, did it get them?
One peach tree looks like it got somewhat toasted, but the other varieties still looked okay. Apple trees are fine.
Yeah, my apple trees look pretty decent still. My cherry trees actually still has blossoms on them right now.
Well, that 2015 or whatever, when I went to 30 below, that killed my cherry trees.
Oh, wow.
It split the trunks froze on them and split.
Busted.
Yeah. I should have got out of here then.
What do you guys use to keep the deer from eating the new shoots off your fruit trees?
I put fence
12 gauge
around mine this
shotgun.
year.
Yeah, there are various explosive devices.
I used fence is what I used. I got fence around all mine.
You have to almost.
Yeah, first year I planted pear trees out here, the deer come over and started rubbing the hell out of them, and I only had one after that, and then every tree I've planted since then I've put fence up around.
I like the 12 gauge type.
Yeah, ODNR kind of frowns on that though.
You can have a, a pie and a steak.
Yeah.
Full meal.
I tried the fence, and I came out one morning, and the deer was standing inside the fence.
Oh wow.
Got some smart deer.
Yeah, maybe the explosive route might be the way you need to go.
I've seen them up on their hind legs reaching for apples.
Yep.
Somebody told me that you hang Irish Spring soap off the branches and that'll deter them. I'm willing to try that. Just drill a hole through a bar of soap and hang it off, and at least the ground underneath will be clean when it rains.
Yeah.
So I had somebody tell me, whatever you do, I did the soap for a while. I also, human hair, you put it around the base. I went to a beauty shop and got bags of hair. But the person from DNR told me, whatever you're doing, you can do for a week or two, but then they're going to get used to it. So you have to keep switching up what you're doing.
I'm still looking at the 12 gauge. It works every time.
Yeah, they don't get used to that.
I heard planting spearmint keeps them away.
Actually, walking my wolf dog around kind of helps too.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta feel strong to walk that dog around.
Hey, we could just start making Fridays idea days.
That'd be a good name for a band, GH, Wolf Dog. I like that.
Hey, I'm surprised it hadn't been taken already.
Yeah, no kidding. Wolf Dog.
Oh, Ryan's writing it down.
Don't overthink it, Ryan.
I'm on the trademarks website right now.
Wolf Dog.
I ain't no dummy. They'll pay for it.
Is that a double OG there?
That's not Snoop Dogg.
You ever spend any time camping there around like Seneca Rocks? You can hear those wolf or those like those bear dogs, those dogs that are running bear all night long. It's the craziest thing. Got bells
Jeez.
on them. Huh?
That sounds nuts.
It's pretty wild. You can hear them for, you know, probably 30, maybe 10 miles. It seems like
We
it's
don't
crazy.
have too many bear around here, but we got a lot of coon dogs.
A couple years ago, I was staying up there between Canaan and Blackwater Falls and doing an after dinner walk down a service road, and we came across a pretty good sized black bear.
About 10 years ago, one came through my place, and I came home from work, and my big compost bin was destroyed. What the hell was this? Then I heard on the news they'd tracked a bear. They swam across the Ohio River and went up past Nelsonville and up into the Hocking Hills. Young male looking for company.
Who'd have
Well,
thought that?
things a young man will do.
Yeah, I know. Young guys are crazy no matter what species they are.
All righty. Well, if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Well, let me think.
Nice talking to you. Y'all have a good morning. I'm going to mute and all that jazz.
Hey,
I'm
take
outta
care,
here.
Ryan.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye, guys. So, Jim or Jamie, do you guys have anything you want to say before I kick it off?
I want to say good morning to everybody, and hope everybody stays safe and have a good weekend this weekend.
I'll double that, Jim. So
And
don't forget to donate to the Jim Hall Boat Fund.
Good morning, fellas.
Morning.
good morning, Robin.
555-665.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for those of you who are joining us for the People Skills Friday, on your screen, I hope that you see that there is a instructional, it says computer, tablet, iPad on top. And on the bottom, it says cell phones. We are going to do some polling today. And for those of you who weren't ready and you might not have your preferred means of looking up information, you can enter the URL on top, the pollev.com/TAComb772, and the poll will go onto your computer, tablet, iPad, whatever. And for those of you who are using your cell phones, you will text the TAComb772 to the number 22333, and the poll will come up on your cell phone. We're going to do that in a few slides, but if everybody does it exactly the same time, I don't want us crashing or anything, so I wanted to give you a heads up. And Devin, thank you for being my guinea pig this morning and making sure I knew that it was working. Boom. All right. So today we're going to start with generational assets and diversity at work. We can make this a multiple session, so I tried to do just highlights today. I've had a request to do nonverbal communication, and we're going to do that with a couple other topics in a couple weeks. So let's get this rolling. Here's the question. And for those of you out there, let me know what you think. Is it possible to not communicate? If you think it is possible to not communicate, raise your hand now and let me see it. So you raise your hand by going on the same bar where you look to chat. So I'll give you a couple seconds there. Looks like we have 3 people think it's possible, 4 to not communicate. Now we're moving up. All right. So now let me know how many people out there think it is not possible to not communicate. 2 double negatives. So raise your hand now if you think it is impossible to not communicate. There we go. The numbers are flying. For all of you who think it's impossible to not communicate, boom, 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 you are correct. Oh, I forgot. That's what happens when you do a presentation after 11:30 at night. You forget some of the slides that you had. We got it right anyway. So to give you a heads up, some of the, oh, I forgot to show my face at the beginning. Sorry, guys. We are always communicating. There are things that we're communicating we're not even aware of. These are just a couple of things that popped off the top of my head. So if you had to define what communication is, these are 2 of the most simplistic ways of looking at communication. Imparting or exchanging of information, it's a means of sending or receiving information. And note that sending and receiving are capitalized with 2 different colors, and there's a reason for that. We'll see that in a minute. So really, it's not, if we go into another definition, communication is only if your message is received and understood by another person. So that's a more in-depth one that we'll get to later maybe. There are 4 different types of communication: nonverbal, verbal, written, and visual. Think in your head which one comes to your mind first and what image comes to mind when you hear those 4 terms: nonverbal, verbal, written, and visual. There's some things I want to highlight. So, challenges for the 4 types of communication. For nonverbal, if S&R, that's the sender and the receiver, are not familiar with each other, or the ways that they often communicate and what intent is, it's easy for messages to be misinterpreted or conflict between what your words are saying and what the nonverbals are saying. I have 50 to 90% after the misinterpreted. And that's because with nonverbal communication, 50 to 90% of the message that we process as the receiver is from the nonverbal. So we will usually let the nonverbal, when we're paying attention, override what we think the words are saying and we're not sure. For verbal, one of the challenges is it can be one of the most respectful ways for people to talk to each other, but we also have to be aware of terminology, acronyms, abbreviations, slang, and how another person's interpreting that, and if it's appropriate for us. Sorry, I'm smiling. It's always funny when you hear adults using slang that teenagers are like, no, 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 don't say that. No, you can't say that. So with written, it's easy for us to email, text, and put things on social media. The problem is if you're emotionally driven and you're not thinking clearly, they are also not things that you can take back. So the word of caution is if you're emotional at that time, super happy or super mad, anything in between, don't hit send, don't send that text, wait until your emotions chill out a little bit. One of the challenges about visual is that it's easy for us to oversimplify too much, or we offer too many details. You might have seen some of those infographics where it's a legal sheet of paper and they try to put 15 different things on there, and it's hard for you to see what is actually being included. We want to talk about challenges with communication, especially today when we're talking about types of diversity and generations in the workplace. Clear and effective communication with coworkers is part of our goal. We want to have clear and effective communication with coworkers, customers, our bosses, and management in general. When we're able to do that, it creates a more level playing field when we are understood and we're understanding what others are saying. We won't have time to get into all the stuff that I wanted to with inclusion and respect. And we're going to do a listening test and assessment on one of our later People Skills Fridays. But I wanted to highlight that those are all very interrelated, integrated, and sometimes directly affect how we're hearing, what we're hearing, and how we're processing it. So let's get those computers warmed up, get your cell phones. So it's just like if you were going to be calling work, but instead of 740 blah, 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 or 513 or 937, whatever your phone extension is, with the texting, you just do 22333. And then the message that you want to send is TACOM772 on the bottom. For those of you on desktops, laptops, iPads, tablets, etc., you're going to enter the URL starting with poll EV. I'll give you a minute. You should get a message back from them that says something like, you know, we're not going to sell your information. We're not going to do anything with it. Everything's cool. All right, now that you have that message, let's start the poll. So first question is, oops, that's from Devin earlier, I forgot to change that. What is your favorite way to provide communication to others, to coworkers? Provide so that you are the sender. Do you prefer nonverbal, body language, volume, tone? That's A. With verbal, that's the words that you speak, the language that you pick. Doing it by face-to-face or on the phone. Written, emails, memos. I love little Post-its and colored ones, and you put it out there and you talk about what's going on. With texting, emoticons, and emojis, you are using a different type of visual communication because we all know how we abbreviate, shorten, and use our own little slang. So hopefully on your screen, you can see that each time somebody enters an answer, the number grows for percentage for your preferred way to send messages. And that's interesting when we talk about your preferred way to send, that nonverbal doesn't come first. And there's a reason, and we'll talk about that hopefully later. If not, we're dedicating almost an entire one to nonverbals and things that go on for one of our later People Skills Fridays. Awesome, you guys. So verbal is our preferred one by a strong measure. The second poll, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pick A, B, C, or D. What's your favorite way to receive? When you are the receiver, how do you like other people to give you information? Again, it's the nonverbal, verbal, written, or types of visual. So let's see what the difference is between sending and receiving for us. Is there going to be a different way that we prefer to receive information? Ooh, neck and neck with B and C. Verbal goes out ahead, and it's back to neck and neck. That is so cool. That is so interesting. Anybody want to guess at why? Oh, verbal took out the lead again. Or is anybody surprised? Let's see if you're surprised. If you're surprised that there is such a difference between our preferred way to send and our preferred way to receive, then raise your hand. But if this doesn't surprise you, or this is kind of what you expected, just sit back, chill, make sure that your answer's in there. And for those of you who've done either one or two of those emotional intelligence tests that I sent you, you probably are not surprised with how these are turning out. I love the fact that you guys, this is so awesome. The fact that we're seeing what's going on and what you're thinking about at this moment. I don't have to guess what you're saying because I get to see the results in front of us. The OWTC bought a license to do this kind of polling, and you'll see we're going to do others later so that we can incorporate this in all of our PowerPoints as they're going to benefit you. So I'm glad that you're getting used to it today. Okay, this one's a little different. When you have a problem at work, what's the first thing that you do? Do you A, stew over it in silence, grumble, grumble, walk away, complain to a coworker, oh my gosh, you would not believe, complain to family friend, you call them up, you text them, you wait until you get home? Or do you address it directly with where the problem came from and immediately? So think about the last time you had a problem, or in general, how do you respond to it? Oh, that is so cool. So I like the fact that each time that we're entering it, we get to see how things are going on. Sorry, I can see how each of these work at certain times, depending on who, what, where, the situation. And sometimes it's the success that we've had. If you've ever had somebody that you've tried to talk to directly and it doesn't get you anywhere, it just seems to get you further into a hole, you tend to start cutting down on that direct and maybe take on something else. So this is great. Thank you guys for responding. We've got another one. Who is more difficult to communicate with? This is like an in general kind of thing. Do you find it more difficult to communicate with teenagers and kids, your spouse, your partner, your BFF, the person with whom you're closest, your boss, customers, or clients? And in case you can't tell, I'm not getting anybody's, phone number, IP, anything. And that's why they give you that message, just so you know this is totally anonymous. It's just helping us see if we're hitting the nail on the head or if we're throwing the hammers, hitting the drywall and making a hole that we're going to have to patch up later. The reason that this is important too to understand is that, like we talked about in the very beginning, you can't not communicate. We are always communicating. And if you have a huge fight with the kids or your partner before you go to work in the morning, it's going to affect your work that day. So it's important for us to understand that communication doesn't just start and stop and it doesn't go anywhere in our brains. We're continuing to process things, especially when they are problems, when we have challenges. So it's really good for us to see where the numbers are falling. And it's no surprise communicating with your boss is always something that's on the back of our mind because we're thinking about our job, we're thinking about our security, we're thinking about how's this going to come over. So that's awesome. We've got one more in this category. When it comes to communicating, it's more difficult for me to talk face-to-face, one-on-one with another person, present or talk to a large group. C, text or email just one person, that direct one-on-one, or creating a letter, an email, something that's going out to a huge group and you may not know all the people on the receiving end. So I know you're not surprised. So presenting to or talking to a large group has often been compared to, I would rather die than have to give a presentation in front of a group. I will throw up. There's all kinds of things that come on with the presenting to a large group, and part of that is the unknown factor. just conversely, you'll see that sometimes that one-on-one, doing it right, feeling like you're not stepping out of your swim lane, that you are using the right words, that's going to come across the way you want. There are all kinds of reasons why each of these are challenging for us. One of the things that we want to do is realize if it's challenging, how can we help improve that for each of us? So we're going to touch on some things today. Thanks again. You guys are really responding well. So a communication recap. What are some of the things that we just touched on? It's difficult to pick answers sometimes depending on the who, the what, the where, and that relationship. It might be easy to talk to a complete stranger when you're standing in line and you don't think you're ever going to see them again, but also talking one-on-one and making sure that you're getting the right message across in the right way with the right nonverbal body language, etc. The other thing is realizing that with some of those answers, I want you to raise your hand now. How hard was it for you to pick between 2 different ones or 3 different ones because the situation, the example, the thing that was going on in your head, then another one popped in. You're like, oh, I don't know which one. Sometimes it's hard for us to, there we go. We've got people up there raising their hand. It's hard for us to decide because of the history, because of the moment, because of the situation. When you're on the phone and you're talking to someone, or you're doing it in a computer like this and you can't see their face, how well is it being received? Are they understanding what you're trying to say? So we need to remember that rarely, especially with the written, you could be sending something that you think is clear as crystal to you, and the other person goes, well, what the heck would they say that? Why are they mad at me? Why don't they don't like me? So it's to remember that there's so many factors going on with communication that we need to try and keep those in the forefront of our brain. And also huge when we're emotional, are we thinking clearly enough to send information at that time? So I'm glad that you noticed some of those differences. Some of you had to work through, which one am I going to pick right now? Which example do I really want to answer? Which is more relevant? So understanding that there's so many factors going on is very important when it comes to communication. So the last point that I want to make is sometimes it's more effective to think about what the receiver needs if you're going to have a truly successful and fluid communication. When you know that the other person is a verbal communicator and you send everything in writing, you're starting to create walls of possible confusion or conflict. So that empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, how would they like to have this conversation? How would they like to receive this information? Can be a huge helper and bridge for helping things get better. So I know this is a crazy thing, but I want you to, in the chat, because I'm going to look at this later, when I say the word diversity, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Do you have a word? Do you have an image? Do you have, is anybody out there HR-ish and they're thinking about policy first? And I want to see what you're thinking about when it comes to diversity. And I'm not going to contact you. I just think it's interesting. This is one of those terms that has changed greatly in our society in the past 30 years. So I want to see what you're thinking, and then I'll show you what I'm coming up with. So 2 different definitions. I picked one from a college university because every year the University of Oregon, is introducing a new 10,000 students on campus. So let's look at the 2 differences. The condition of having or being composed of differing elements. And then the university, when understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. So differing and differences are 2 of the highlights when it comes to diversity. So let's look at a few things and see what you're thinking. I tried attaching this, and thank you, Jamie, for being my mail person. and inviter and party hoster. If you receive this, then open this up in your computer, or if you can see it on your iPhone, or I'm going to read them. But what I want you to do is, if you see one that you know the answer to, you are 100% confident that you can answer that. And Jamie, if you don't mind, I'm actually going to tag you in. Can you look at the chats and tell me, like, when the first 5 answers for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 come up, and we want to answer some of these in numerical order. So everybody's going to get a chance to answer, but pick a square. This is kind of like bingo. If we were in person, we'd be doing bingo, but sorry, this is the best I could do with video conferencing. So I'm going to read these out loud for those of you who couldn't print it or can't see it. And then remember, you're going to enter the number that goes with it. 1, if you know what Juneteenth is. 2, you have experienced being a stereotyped. 3, you know the colors that should never be used to write your name in Korea. 4, you can name one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. 5, you can name 2 months that most corn detasseling happens. 6, you are able to communicate in sign language. 7, you know the significance of Ramadan. 8, you have a favorite Bible verse that you can share off the cuff. 9, you know what 3 Kings Day is, origin or why we celebrate, or I should say people celebrate. 10, you are either bilingual or multilingual. 11, you have family from at least 2 different racial or ethnic groups. 12, you know what Eskimo translates to, literally in the English language, what it translates to. 13, you have a parent or a grandparent who was born outside the US. 14, you can tell me something about Harvey Milk. 15, you know when the Chinese New Year occurred. 16, you can name the year that women were allowed to vote in the US. 17, you know what TTD stands for. 18, you know the state with the highest percentage of Latino Hispanics. 19, you know the current ethnic label for Ohio's mountain people. But 20, sorry, I'm smiling. 20, you can explain what ham hocks are used for. 21, you know the significance of eagle feathers in Native American culture. 22, you can describe living in another part of the US or the world. 23, you know what the large US city is with the most racially segregated people. 24, you can name the prominent Black man who owned the hotel in Athens, downtown, in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. For all of you who might have visited COAD and gone to eat downtown. And then last one, you can describe a family tradition that is based on your heritage. Sorry, Jamie, I didn't think about getting you to start this and telling you heads up before, but has anybody answered for 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Yes. Basically, we got answers all the way across the board here on this. So,
woohoo!
You know, we've got answers on 13, 2, 6, 8, another 8, 1, another 8, 2, 11, 12, 11, 11, 2, 1, and 14, 8.
Oh, 8's popular.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a COAD employee here. Obviously, his fingers was a little thick. He typed in 116. That was Dave Evans. I was giving him a hard time at 16. Another 16. 21, 18, 16, 20, 20, 20, 8, 20, 19, 22, 22 and 23.
Wow.
Another 22, 21. So yeah, there's a lot of answers here. So
Awesome. Can you read like a few of them and I'll tell you if we're right and what's going on out there?
what do you want me to read?
You can start with 1 and go numerically, but if it's too messy, then we can just do this the old-fashioned way and read the first one that you get and go on down, whichever's easier for you. But tell us what the number is so that everybody knows. And if it's not the right answer, then I'll give you the right answer.
Okay. Let me get back here. Well, let's start with number 1 here.
Okay.
On that. I can't really read this on my screen here the way I've got everything set up. So let me see if I can adjust here. Number 1 knows what Juneteenth means.
Did they share the answer?
No. Everybody just typed in a number, so there wasn't any answers.
So whoever's answered for number 1, do you want to tell us what the answer is? You want to unmute yourself and share, or do you want me to read it?
We got an answer to number 8.
All right, let's hear what number. That's the Bible verse that was really popular. You want to read that one?
It says, the trust in the Lord with all thine heart. All the way down, it's Proverbs 3, 5, 6.
Nice.
Right?
I don't have my Bible handy, but normally when people have a verse that means a lot to them, they know it. So I'm going to trust that they got that right.
Okay. Yeah, there's some answers coming in there for number 1 there too. It's the emancipation there of the slaves festival there on June 19th there, celebrated by African Americans. So
yes. Oh, I forgot to remind everybody, we're not supposed to use the internet or your cell phones. This is like knowledge that's already stored in your brain.
Well, I'm out.
All right. So I hope I'll read these out loud so you know what they are. Unless somebody wants to jump in right now. What I wanted us to see is that we all have different, if we were doing this face-to-face and we were doing bingo and you get a chip and you write the person's name in that bingo square, then we would see that different people in the room, you would go and get different answers. Because you can only, in this game, you can only have your initials in one square. So basically, you're trying to talk to 24 other people because you can put yourself in one.
So, you know, whenever I play one of them games, it's called a shot.
I think 24 shots would be a little too much for some of us. 2 shots would be plenty for some of us. All right, so I will read some of these out loud just so we're not, has experience being stereotyped. I'm guessing that's when we think about being stereotyped and those 10 different qualifiers I had up, it's amazing to me when someone hasn't been actually in our society. So we'll go on. So for 3, you are not supposed to use the color red. And the only time you can use that is during a person's, after they're dead. So if they're, otherwise it brings bad. So with Kwanzaa, it's a 7-day event and it's actually celebrating 7 principles. And it's one of those things that people think that it's equated with Christmas and that it's part of Hanukkah and the equal, but they're all different things that different religions have brought up in different ethnic backgrounds. with Kwanzaa, what's nice is that you have the 7 are unity. Oh, I'm going to mess this up. Self-determination, teamwork, collectively working together, cooperative, purpose, creativity, faith. I think I missed one. But we can talk about that another time too. All right. How many people had number 5, Jamie? Were there a lot who know when it's time for detasseling?
I haven't seen a 5 on here yet, so.
So that's interesting. When I played this game the first time, I think I was the only one who knew. Where I grew up, thanks Ryan, where I grew up in Indiana, we were surrounded by cornfields. And so detasseling is a horrible way of making good money because you cut up your arms. I mean, you are sliced, your neck, and a lot of times your upper body. So in July and August, depending on the weather that year, it's usually a 3 to 4 week period. And it depends on the heat, but you have to get out there and take the tassels off so the cross-pollination doesn't happen. Using sign language. Did you notice if we had any 6s out there?
Yeah, there's a couple 6s, so.
Good. Using sign language is one of those things. It used to be a language I was fluent in. It no longer is because I haven't used it for like 20 years. Ramadan is a Muslim holiday. So the significance, I think we had, didn't you say there was one person at least who had 7?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So for everybody else, it's basically a time that you are fasting, and you fast from sunrise in the morning on Ramadan to sunset. You can have water, but you're fasting. So anyway, the whole thing is kind of like Lent for Catholics. You are doing this to show your dedication, your sacrifice, the patience that you have, and your humility, being humble. And it reflects, back a long time ago when food wasn't as prevalent, and to, take us back to our roots. We had the Bible verse. 3 Kings Day is in Latin America. We probably could have had GH do this one. It symbolizes a day when 3 wise men will sneak into the children's bedroom to leave toys for the good and for the bad. Just like Saint Nick, that coal will be left. 10. Did anybody mention what languages they were speaking for those who were bilingual or multilingual?
I didn't see where anybody's put anything down, so.
Yeah, so Spanish is a big one in our area, but we also have several other languages, that pockets of neighborhoods in Columbus. So that could have been multiple ones. 11 has family from at least 2 different racial ethnic groups. The interesting thing is that the millennials, those who were born after Gen Y, so 1981 and after, were for a while the most diverse group because a lot more parents were from 2 different groups, and we've also changed how we do demographics, like for IRS and categories that we have. However, the Gen Z group, those who were born around the year 2000, has passed the millennials. They are now the most diverse. Eskimo translates into those who eat their meat raw as a technical definition. Parents born abroad. You said there were a few 13s that we had, right?
Yes.
And that's awesome. Did anybody mention what country?
No.
14, Harvey Milk. This is one of those, it's a good movie if you haven't seen it yet. Sean Penn plays Harvey Milk, but He was the first openly gay person elected to public office in the US. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in 1978. He was known as a martyr for gay rights, and he was helping put a positive spin and understanding on a lot of issues. 15, the Chinese New Year. It's different because it doesn't follow the lunar calendar. It doesn't go with the cycles of the moon. And it's usually, well, it's always between January 21st and February 19th. And it's a great way of having a lot of good food. Sorry, Chinese New Year used to be one of my favorites. 1920 was when the 19th Amendment to the Constitution gave women the right to vote. The interesting thing is there's a lot of celebrations this year that were around the fact that for 100 years now, women haven't been allowed to vote. TTD is short for telecommunication device for the deaf. So it goes back to sign language again. How many people on number 18, you know the state with the highest percentage of Latino Hispanics? So the amazing thing is that it's actually New Mexico, and then California and Texas tie. 19, that was for a lot of people in this area, the Appalachian. It's based after the word Appalachia, which is old word, over a couple hundred years that they originally were describing the mountains in our area. Ham hocks. That's an African American tradition. So basically the back part of the pig where the foot and the leg connect with each other is really kind of bristly. So you throw that in with collard greens, and the flavoring is just, oh, so much. It's hard to stop eating when you have really good greens like that. Okay, eagle feather, a symbol of accomplishment and ranking among Native Americans. It's also a sacred symbol in some of the traditions and ceremonies. How many people lived in a different part of the US or the world? Were there a lot of 22s?
There was a few of them.
This is one of the hard things. If we were playing this in the bingo, is when you look at people, unless there's an accent or you know somebody lives someplace else, it's hard to get that one. And so people tend, when you start playing this game, it'd be like, oh, I know this is a hard one. I fit in this category. You can write down, and you write down, you know, your initials and then the state or the country that you lived in. But it's interesting that that's often one of the ones that's difficult to fill in. So 23, do you know what large city is the most racially segregated? So the interesting thing is that 8 years ago, Milwaukee was actually the most segregated, and then Detroit and Cleveland. But currently, it's a town in Arizona. And then it's Detroit. And then the other one that will pop up is Albany, Georgia. And I'm sure those of you who are watching the COVID-19, you have seen Albany, Georgia popping up multiple times because of what's going on down there. 24, was there anybody who knew about the hotel downtown where the sign is right outside the diner?
There was a couple people there, yes.
That's awesome. So Edward Berry, if you're ever downtown, you're back at the training center, you'll see this outside the diner, and it tells the history of the hotel that used to stand there and what his why it was significant. And then 25. Did anybody have a family tradition that they shared, or did they just put the number 25 in?
They just put the number in.
Anybody want to quickly unmute and share with us a couple of examples? Because I always find this to be one of the most interesting things, the family traditions.
One of my family traditions was backwoods moonshine.
And when do you guys enjoy the backwoods moonshine?
Almost every night.
Is that why we created that still at work?
That's you're not supposed to tell nobody about that.
Oh, my bad. Thanks, Jim. So part of what I wanted to highlight is that with the scavenger hunt, you go around the room and you have to meet 24 people and you get to know them and it helps you take that visual communication that we were talking about and see people differently. They lived in another part of the country. They have another language that they speak. They have a Bible verse that pops off the top of their head. Religion's very important to them. They understand what Kwanzaa and Ramadan and why, we celebrate Hanukkah, but that's not the most religious day for Jewish people. It's just one of those things that Christians wanted to kind of give equal props to. So that's an interesting history in and of itself. But getting to meet people, see what they have, and learn about them a little bit more helps us also look at people a little differently and appreciate something else for them. My clock says that it is 10:47. So I will do this recap for the exercise that we just did. Knowledge is culturally based. A lot of what we know, it's because of our family, where we grew up, where we went to school, the media that we pay attention to, the church that we grew up or we attend still. It helps us with those stereotypical notions, like we just said. Knowledge is also cumulative. We keep adding and understanding the base that some people have and what they're adding to is helpful. One of the points that I think is really important for us to understand is that having a diverse group of people help us solve problems in new ways and get a better understanding, but it also makes us aware of things that we might not have been thinking about, connections that we didn't understand, histories we didn't know. So it's that diversity that helps us. Everybody has probably heard Calhoun walk around COAD and say, we love COAD, weatherization works. His energy was something that you could not deny nor duplicate. He has retired, but I think that we will still have people once in a while who will be saying that because in a way it's something that we really appreciate. Collectively, we can achieve more. It took 25 people to be able to answer that. In this instance, it's over 100 people and we were able to get all the answers. And to never forget that everybody has something to contribute. And when we let people have a voice and we listen to them, it's often a good chance for us to learn. So let's take a break now and we'll come back at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. And we're going to be doing more polling, but you're going to have to do thinking. It's not just answering yourself. So have coffee, get a little chocolate, walk around, do jumping jacks, do whatever you need, and we'll see you in 12 minutes. Whoop, whoop. Thanks, Jamie, for jumping in like that on the fly. I appreciate it, dude.
Not a problem.
And Jim, thanks for jumping in with your answer.
Hey, can you leave me alone? I'm trying to take a nap.
You're such a turd. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at your chat answers. You guys are so funny. Ryan, did all of your scars heal from detasseling?
Yeah, that you said that brought back a lot of memories. Did a lot of that in my teen years, and I grew up in a farming community. I went from baling hay, which is heavier than straw, for $2 an hour to detasseling corn for almost $5 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was worth the cuts.
It's good money. And if you have other people that you can laugh with and stuff, it makes it go faster. But man, it is not an easy job.
No, it was work. That was Heiser's Farm Seeds. They were the very best, place in the little community to work for. And when the detasseling corn turned into also weeding soybean fields by hands with machetes.
Wow.
Yeah, and you'd go out, you'd have a group maybe of 10 people, row to row, just walking along and chopping with that machete. And like you said, with the group dynamic, and as a kid, making what you thought were, well, what was a good damn bit of money for a kid. It wasn't that bad. But when you said detasseling corn, I kind of missed that on the first run. But when you said it out loud, it just instantly, I'm like, hey, I did that.
Did you guys have to get bussed anywhere, or was it close enough for you that you just drove to the field?
They would take us on a hay wagon. I mean, this is the 80s, so there was no concern for the well-being of, you know what I mean? A different time, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
You're all just jumping in the back of a pickup truck with a hay wagon on the back of it, and off you went wherever you went.
Yep, sitting on the edge, not in protected, and thinking it was a good thing. Yep.
Oh yeah, living the dream.
Yep. Hey, you made good money from it.
Well, yeah. Always wanted to work.
Sorry, I had to get away and take a phone call. I've been half listening, but I haven't been able to respond. But I'm getting educated a little bit anyway.
Well, good. We had one that was just for you, Three Kings Day.
I did hear it, but because I was talking on the phone, I couldn't multitask.
Life is always happening. We got to remember that.
Yeah, I was surprised that somebody wanted to call me up and talk to me today. Nobody talks to me. I don't communicate much, except when Joyce comes home.
How's Joyce handling the workload?
Well, she's one of the few people that has to go to work every day.
People want to get paid. They're funny about that, aren't they?
Well, a lot of people work from home, and then, of course, all the weatherization is not working, and they're getting paid. But because what she does is secure, she can't do it from home.
Ah,
because of all the, records and
right,
transactions and stuff.
right.
So every once in a while, I have to give her a pep talk that, she's not being picked on. She's important.
Yeah, it's funny how many people forget that payroll is essential. So, I was happy.
Well, people would remember real quick if they didn't get paid.
Oh, yeah, but it's funny, poor Sam, he, having to feel like he has to, protect everybody. Everybody has different ways that they're dealing with the stress that they're doing at work. So
Sure.
I appreciate the fact that you and a few other people who are on here aren't even working right now, but this is a great way for you to keep your skill set up, to connect with other human beings, and to, hopefully do your jobs even better afterwards. So,
well, that's some of the reasons that I get on here a lot of days. Number one, I can communicate with people as if I'm almost being with people, but it does keep my mind sharper than doing things solitary. So it's a good thing. I mean, I'm just, besides skill set for work, it's just life skill sets.
right. And I have,
Absolutely. I actually look forward to every morning tuning in at 9:30 to have the informal conversation with everyone, because Terry, I'm an introvert, but I mean, this is ridiculous, right?
yeah.
It's like all these people that thought they wanted to be preppers until they had the opportunity to become one.
Right.
And then, oh man, I'd really like to get out. Heck yeah, I got enough supplies to last me for 2 years. In reality, it's not the same.
No, it's not. Next couple of weeks, I'll be doing the virtual conference. So I won't, I don't necessarily have to attend this to log hours, right? But I guarantee you I'll pop in every morning and say hi to everybody and before I go, because it doesn't start till 11. Just like you said, GH, it's just kind of a nice way to stay connected.
Yeah. I mean, I could see myself otherwise becoming like Tom Hanks in Castaway almost, Wouldn't quite be talking to a soccer ball, but
I'm close.
I mean, I talk to the dog all day and then talk to Joyce when she gets home, or, well, in the morning a little bit before she goes, but that's pretty much my limitations right now.
It's just strange. I'm an introvert, but this not being with people for weeks on end, and a few times, at least I was able to talk to all the trainers once a day. And then my job got so crazy, couldn't even do that for a while. And you feel it. I don't know how Tom Hanks would have survived in real life like that. That's just tough.
Well, I mean, there are people that do live that way. That's at the beginning. That's what I thought. Yeah, there's people that don't communicate. And there are very few that live that way by choice. And then they'll find someone who's been there is a guy that I know of that's not communicated with anybody in 30 some years.
Wow.
Somewhere in Alaska, or I don't know, some place where most people wouldn't want to go anyway.
Wow.
But he's made it clear that he doesn't, has stuff dropped off, leaves a note, doesn't have internet or anything, he'll leave a note out, and if he needs supplies or something. So it's possible.
I know, but you got to wonder what, even if, you know, I love reading, but if you're not talking out loud or communicating with another human being, your personality, your brain, things are going to change. You know, it's just, that'd be hard.
Yeah, I agree. I talk to myself all the time though. So.
My poor dogs, the other day, something happened and I screamed so loud that the one dog jumped off the sofa and ran into the other room and was like, I'm not going to be around you. I don't know what's going on, but it's not safe in here.
Ryan, you could always take a motorcycle ride. That's social distancing.
Oh, trust me, Justin, when the weather's right, I'm out. You're exactly right. Cruising around on the country roads of Southern Ohio is about as socially distanced as you can get it. The weather gods will smile on me. I'll be a little bit better.
Yes, sir. I had my old girl out already a couple times.
Did me a world of good.
I could hear a smile on your face, Justin, when you talked about being out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm dying sitting here being a teacher and all that good stuff. I'd rather be out there putting furnaces in.
Teacher, you have kids at home?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of parents. It is a tough spot trying to help the kids do their homework, do their lessons, help them have some outside, you know, lifetime, and the parents have some downtime. It is not an easy place right now.
Then I know some people, they have to get in the car and drive to a place where they can have internet access so the kids can do their lesson. They got to sit in a car where there's like, I don't know if they're going to the library or some other hot spot, but they don't have access at home. So they got to take a drive so the kids can get online to do some schoolwork.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, especially in the country, not everybody has internet access. And when libraries used to be the place you would go in, use their computers, and the library's closed, so you can sit out in the parking lot and get part of their Wi-Fi signal. There's a lot of extra things that people aren't aware of that are going on that are creating extra levels of challenge.
Oops. Spectrum also created a lot of hotspots, free hotspots for the kids to have internet also in our area.
Oh, good. All
yeah,
right.
Corporate America, to their credit, you know, for what it's worth, they've stepped up in a lot of ways, you know, to help just socially, you know, with this whole mess.
Yeah, somewhat surprisingly in some cases.
Correct, GH. Yeah, I'll give credit where credit's due. And without much fanfare, kind of like Justin mentioned, Spectrum. Well, they're not running, you know, an ad every 3 minutes bragging about it either, you know. They will.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I want to get you out of here at noon. So I'm going to bring us all back together.
Aye.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Justin. I like hearing people having that connection and talking to each other too.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are going to, this is the last slide that we were on. And for those of you, having my computer flip back and forth, some of you received the attachment that was in the invitation. There were 2 attachments. One of them at the top says small group exercise, global village. We don't have time to go through every question. For those of you who want the answers, just email me, tcombs@coadinc.org. T is in Terry, Tiger, whatever you want to call it. Combs, like the thing in your hair. tcombs@coadinc.org. Or if you can't, if I'm talking too fast, ask Devin, she'll give it to you. But I can give you the answers to everything on that sheet, especially since some of you are, you know, really doing well and enjoying the People Skills Friday. So I don't want you to feel like we're cheating on the diversity part. However, we're going to get back to, so open up those phones, same place. We are going to, oh my gosh, did you guys already answer? No way. If we shrink the world to a village of 100, how many men would there be? Throw in your answers. Oh my gosh, you guys are just kicking butt. Look at this. You've already started answering. So how many men? Type in your, you know, text it or put it on your computer screen and send it to the same thing. How many men do you think there would be? So conversely, we're going to do just two genders, men and women. Then it means the other number for that 100, if we shrink the world to a village of 100, how many men would there be? So we're taking the 7 billion plus people in the world and shrinking it down to 100. How many men do you think there would be? So in that 100, see, I just started playing with the poll everywhere last night. We'll have to figure out how the answers we could get an average also. Remember, again, this is in your brain power. We're not using anything on the internet or phones, etc. All right, I could tell you that I've seen the right answer. I'm trying to scroll so everybody can see the answers that are there. If we shrink the world to a village of 100 people, how many men would there be? The right answer is, oh, still more coming in, sorry. The right answer is on the top of your screen. It is 50. Technically, it's like 49.5 men and 50.5 women. So it's really 50-50 when you have the numbers and you average up. Just 10 years ago, it used to be 51% women and 49% men. And those were real figures. So in 10 years, the numbers have changed. And if you want to put in chat, if you have ideas of why you think some of those big factors are that it's now equal, then you can put it in there. Or we can save it for another day since we have so much to get through in the next only 50 minutes. So we have another question. Wow, you guys, thank you. Yeah, you're in it.
She would be like, ah! I know.
All right, computer.
Oh, it has to change because of the amount of.
All right, I'll let a couple more people answer, and then we'll move to the next one. There are probably too many. You guys are so funny. All right, so it's 50-50 when we average. So we're going to go to the next question, if my computer will let me. If we shrink the world down to 100, again, so the entire world, 7-something billion people, how many live in a city? So just type in the number of that 100. How many people do you think would live in a city? what's interesting is that we'll have different people will come up and say, well, how do you define a city? You know, I live in a town. Is that a city? I live in a village. Is that a city? So part of the discussion that would occur if we were together is that you would be, you know, throwing up, well, you know, working in small groups so you could have real conversations. Social distancing. You guys are so funny. How do we define a city? And how would we define a city here in southeastern Ohio versus somebody who lives in Siberia, somebody who lives in Cape Town? So how we define a city is very different depending on where you are. Okay, so let's get 3 more answers and I'll let you know. Interesting. Okay. So I've seen a couple more answers populate. So I will give you the answer. See if we have it on here. Darn close right there. So the answer is 54%. So our 50s people are really close. So good job. All right, we're still doing the global village and we've shrunk everything down to 100 people. Here's one that's a whole different way of thinking for you. How many people will have mobile phones? In that 100, how many will have a mobile phone? So a mobile phone would include smartphones and flip phones and everything in between. So how many will have mobile phones? And remember, this is the world, but we're shrinking down to this global village. Somehow we'd meet like right in the middle and our village would just be perfectly set with ocean and mountain and garden space and everything else. All righty, we've got a nice variety of answers. So if we take our global village and we shrink that down to 100, the answer is, I can't make it go on the very top. The answer is 80%. 80% will have a mobile phone. Let's see what happens though when I ask you the next question. Is anybody surprised that 80%? So in 10, in your little pods of 10, 2 people will not have a mobile phone. So let's see. Oh, rats. I had a second part to this question. What happened? The next one, well, I guess I didn't figure it out right. The next one was going to be a speed round. I was going to ask you, where did that question go? That's just weird. Well, poo. Okay, so I obviously did not do the speed question right. So if we have 80% have a mobile phone, throw up in chat, how many do you think will have internet access in that global village of 100? In a global village of 100, how many will have internet access? Sorry, Jamie, the poll everywhere is taking over my computer. Can you tell me some of the answers that are being thrown out there? How many will have internet access?
I'm seeing 40, 70, 60, 75, 62, 65, 45.
Wow, 45, got it on, couldn't get closer. It's 44%. And I found that really interesting that only 44% would have internet access. But then I thought, hey, and you know, we're used to it in Southeastern Ohio. How many pockets are there where we still don't have internet or it's dial up? And when you think about countries that have expanses of deserts and jungles and savannas and getting internet access, they will have a mobile phone that they can use, but less than, you know, almost half of those won't have internet access. Here's the last one for this global village of 100. So Jamie, keep your eye out for this. And again, everybody, this is just your brain power. How many of those 100 would own a car? If we shrink the world down to 100, how many of those 100 would own a car? Are the answers rolling in?
Yeah, they're rolling in pretty quick there. They're kind of ranging all over the place here too. So I see numbers coming up here: 60, 22, 80, 50, 20 to 25, 20%, 60. A lot of them seem to be between like 50 and 60 there.
Awesome. You guys are great. I love all the thinking that's going on up there. So if we shrink the world down to 100 people, only 15 of those 100 would own a car. And when you think about it, how many people in big cities or people who are way out there, they take public transportation or they walk everywhere they go? So 15% owning a car, to me, it was just amazing. We've got 80 with a phone, 44 with internet, and only 15 with a car. And like I said, I will create an answer sheet and we will give that to Devin so that she can pass it on, or you can just email me directly and I will give it to you. Because I liked, the exercise is really nice when you talk about the continents that people live on and what age ranges would these people be. And so there's a lot of really good information there, but it would basically take up the rest of the hour. So I made one of those executive decisions and said, we've got a lot to cover. I'll just give you the rest of the answers. So these are some of the common ways when people talk about diversity. Remember, we said before it was differing and differences. We touched on a couple with gender and socioeconomic stratum. So basically the class, you know, here in the States, we talk about middle class, upper class, lower middle, blah, blah, blah. But some of the others are national origin, race, religion, ideologies, physical abilities, or instead of, people, it's not handicapped, it's handy abled. Sexual orientation, political beliefs, and age. So I want to touch on some of the age, because right now, what's interesting in our society, we are just now with 5 generations in the workplace, which is just mind-blowing when you think about what that really means. Oops, switching slideshows. Go away. Stop it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. My poll everywhere is taking over my screen. So with the generations, I wanted to hit some highlights, because it just, to me, it's, when you look at this, and again, this is another thing that we could do all day. So that's an actual real photo. That's my nephew before he was born. So I thought talking about generational assets, it just was kind of a nice way of starting. So here are some things that I want us to touch on in the next 35 minutes. And we're going to have, hopefully you're going to be able to do some answers again. So I had 4 generations, but technically we probably have some people out there who are from the Gen Z group who are working, and technically we're also, depending on who you look at, Pew Research has been a defining factor, but a lot of people are calling it the Alpha generation, the ones who are born after the Gen Z people. And they're trying to figure out, how do we call these generations? Because before it was timelines, but major things that happened in society, what you were exposed to, what you were coping with, what you had to overcome, similarities. And so nobody can agree right now on when the Gen Z group is stopping and when the Alpha generation is going to start, because of defining factors. And some are now speculating that this COVID-19, that this year might be one of the markers that they will use to define generations. So let's talk about a little bit about generations. At work, you probably have seen it and maybe not thought about it directly, but you might be working with 4 or 5 generations at work. People who are retiring right now, who are in their 70s, are in a different generation. And those people who are coming into the workforce, the 19 and 20-year-olds, it's a different generation. So I just want to hit some highlights. And if you enjoy this part, the generation, I have a huge handout that separates by the 4 generations and a bunch of characteristics. And some of those are technology, what motivates, career goals, defining factors that are within each group and why they happen that way. So if that's something that you enjoy, I can make that available to you also. There's a difference right now. If you look at the one that is on your right where it says workforce and the one that's on the left that says population, our workforce is not reflective of what's going on in our society as a whole, because we have more traditionalists who have retired and continue to retire, and more people from Gen Z are joining the workforce. We are now starting to also see baby boomers who are retiring. So these numbers just keep changing because of who's coming in and who's going out. So we're going to hit highlights of each generation. And I think one of the hardest things for people to understand is that it depends on who you talk to what they're going to define as that generation. Most people are pretty set in agreement with the silent generation, those who we call traditionalists, and the veterans group, those who were born before the end of World War II. And usually 1922 is the starting date. And again, we can get into a lot of that more if you want. I tried to highlight different characteristics with each generation to give you an idea and to help you see a perspective of why some of the people who are in those generations, why they act differently than us, what they bring to the table, those assets of experience, perspective, knowledge. So here we're going to talk about. So those who are traditionalist, or the silent gen, whatever you want to call them, they were raised during wars, during the Great Depression. They have a respect for resources and not wasting things and saving money, caring for your community, a traditional hierarchy. My dad is a traditionalist and he supports women, but he still thinks that that the woman is the one who takes care of the house, who does all the food, does all the cooking. And it's interesting to see two retired people, one who's working all the time and one who's not. Those are rules that he grew up with, and those are things that will continue to define who he is and how he looks at things. Loyal to the organization. A lot of us are aware of this, that loyalty, you started a job and you retired from them 25, 30, 40 years later. Calhoun was very loyal to COAD. He will always be. That is his identity for part of it. And that's just how that generation, they believed you started with a company and you stayed with it until you were done. Hard work, dedication, and respect for elders, respect for management, etc. Those are a lot of how they define themselves. Communication styles. Again, these are things that help you figure out how you can work with others. Live communication, face-to-face or phone. This is a group that is not big on email. Forget about texting. I love the fact that my mom, if I send her a text, I get an answer like a week later. She doesn't know where her cell phone is half the time. It's just, it's a different way from what we do. You give things their full respect, including words, positions that you hold. They like hard copies of information. And I wanted to include this because I tried to show that each generation has parts of this presentation that fit their style. Those handouts, if you were a traditionalist, you would have found a way to print that so you had that in your hand and you would have been writing notes on that piece of paper. So those are some things to think about. For motivation for traditionalists, it is to make the company succeed, to make your boss look good, to please your boss. They just want to know that the job was well done. You can tell them once a year. You can tell them, even less than that. They just want to know that they're doing the job and going forward. They don't want prizes and certificates and things that other generations may want. Their loyalty to the company and the company being loyal to them is big. Value incentives guide the future. They look for buying stock in those companies and that company doing well, and they support it. Having retirement contributions. It amazes me, one of my aunts worked for GM for 30 years. She's been retired 35, and she was shocked when her retirement had to go down because GM's not doing well. And I just looked at her and I said, you've been retired, not working for them longer than you worked for them. And why are you surprised? She's like, that's the rule. That's what they set up. They can't do this to us. So it's a whole different way of looking at life. Learning modes. Traditionalists like the classroom setting. They like the rows of seats and the columns and everything set up. One-to-one communication with them works best, being face-to-face. Calling them. Do not sit across the desk from them and send them an email, that is kind of ridiculous to them. So then we move on to baby boomers. And you may know, or you may not, that with baby boomers, the name is because those who were returning from World War II, and there was a huge number of babies that were born in the first few years, and it continued on. Baby boomers stopped in 64. And again, it was, you probably, when you think about all the things that happened in 63 and 64, those were defining moments, especially for our society, with assassination, civil rights movement, things that were a whole different world. So they came up with a new generation. So let's do some baby boomer characteristics for you to think about. They were raised during multiple wars. They were raised with Cold War. Having air sirens go off and people to get underneath their desk and protect themselves in case that nuke bomb was dropped. It's a whole different way of thinking. We a lot of times will glamorize what the 50s and the 60s were like, but there were definitely things that they that defined who they were at a young age. Nuclear families. They believe you get married, and most of them would stay married through good and bad, thick and thin, you know, good health, yada. That's just how it was for them. Work defines their self-worth. Work defines others. This is one of those groups where you would often introduce yourself and your title. Competitiveness started with baby boomers in a big way. Instead of, it's not just the organization, but it's the competition for who's doing what, who's doing best, etc. With baby boomers and communication, they like to establish a relationship. They like to know who you are. Just dropping information on them and they don't have a context, a lot of times they'll just not answer it, not deal with it, because they don't have that connection to you. So that's why it's often really good to introduce yourselves to baby boomers, give them a face with a name, make sure they understand what your role is, and then when they see you sending them an email or something, they'll be more likely to respond. They like conversations, they like the exchange. They want to get to know you as a person. Baby boomers and motivation. They like having room for growth. The whole glass ceiling and things were set up by this generation. They like the competitiveness, getting those raises that they earned. Problem solving is big, but unique rewards and incentives, it's having that recognition, receiving that certificate for outstanding employee, being told something. Sorry, I am choking. I'm going to do this this side, and then I'm going to take a quick minute to go get something for my throat. So we're going to take a 60-second break. Sorry. And I will move on to the next slide.
Yeah, everybody, I muted her there till she could get recovered on that. So I don't think we all wanted to hear her call.
Am I live again, Jamie?
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with baby boomers, if you're going to do learning with them, or if you're going to do training, they want to be able to participate. They want to know that their opinion counts, that they're valued as a learner and as a participant itself. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. How many people, if you were a traditionalist, a silent generation, basically you're in your 70s and beyond, do we have anybody who is still in that generation who's part of the the learning today? If you are, just raise your hand. I just want to see if we have any traditionalists out there. Kim Bond, you are not in your 70s, dude. Are you messing with me? So our executive director is getting ready to retire, and he would have been in the traditionalist group. How many baby boomers do we have out there? Raise your hand, because I know we've got you out there. There we go. Hands are going up. So baby boomers, be thinking about things that I said. Do they reflect who you are? The horrible thing about stereotyping is that it tries to put everybody into a group, but I tried to pick characteristics and things that in the research were pretty consistent. And that's why I created the grid, was to help us, not necessarily everybody's going to fit, but to understand and have an appreciation for some of the differences out there. So thank you for all you boomers who raised your hand just now. I appreciate it. Now you Gen Xers, how many out there were born from 1965 through 1980? So if you're a Gen Xer, raise your hand. I'm a Gen Xer, but I don't want to raise my hand. Look at that, the numbers are climbing. It should be right now in our workforce, the majority should be Gen Xers and Gen Ys. Baby boomers are, getting ready to retire. They're looking at the future. They're seeing what they have been able to contribute to society. So Gen Xers are one of the larger groups, but they're not the largest now. We'll get to it, but actually millennials are outnumbering Gen Xers and boomers right now. So we'll talk about that in a second, why that's important. So Gen Xers, some of the characteristics that help define this group is MTV, the Berlin Wall came down. The great societal changes, the ERA, civil rights movement, the war on poverty, all those things that happened in the 60s, we grew up with that. We thought that that's just how things are. And so that helped define a lot of what we do. And so here's some characteristics I want you to think about. A lot of Gen Xers are very independent. We were the first, key latch children. You went to school, you had the key around your neck on a piece of string, you let yourself in, you got to have your snack, you were supposed to do your homework before your mom got home. The latchkey kids, that's just what we knew. We were the first ones where our moms were going to work generally as a group. We have a higher rate of blended families than the previous generations. We have loyalty to people, not to brands and not to organizations. And think about how you'll say, well, my coworkers are great, I couldn't leave them. My customers are who I do this for. That is a Gen Xer kind of thing instead of baby boomers and traditionalists, where it was more the organization themselves. Unfortunately, with Gen Xers, a lot of us work to live, and that is not a good approach, but that uber competitiveness and striving thing that we have tends to push people and not have a good work-life balance. So one of the things we talked about before, remember how having conversations, getting to know you is important to traditionalists. Boomers like to have that interaction, understand where they come from. Gen Xers like to be direct and to the point. And so sometimes communications with those generations, one will see it as you're being too harsh, you're in my face, and the other one's like, why can't you tell me what you're thinking? And so it creates some dynamics there that make things challenging for the workforce. We think it's great as a Gen Xer that we can tell you what's going on, what we expect, because we think it makes it easier for you. So it's one of those, going on what's happening. Gen Xers like to have their opinion before actions are done, and that's part of that value. There's a good thing too, is that with Gen Xers, a lot of them are self-motivated. politics are ugh. Non-traditional perks. I'm sure you all heard Jim Hall has a boat fund that he is happy to let us contribute to, and that is one of the non-traditional perks of his job. Being clear with what you want. For motivation, don't tell me you want me to create 30 widgets today, and then you come and tell me you want 45 today, and tomorrow I can go down to 25. Switching midstream is hard for a lot of Gen Xers. It's like, this is what you told me. Stick with what you told me. Seminars, lunches, those are ways that they like to learn, not as much of the traditional classroom rows and columns of people. Learning modes, web-based can work, question and answer. Multimedia is there. It's not embraced like it is with the millennials and the Gen Zs, but so these are some of the learning modes that work for them. Short attention span, it's not like it is with later generations, but it's also not when the traditionalists who could sit there and be happy listening to a lecture for a couple hours and not zoning in and out. So you'll see attention spans tend to get shorter with each generation. So Gen Y and millennials, the interesting thing is that this whole part is that they are, Gen Y was going to be the last generation, millennials, and then some things happened and they decided that 96 was going to be the cutoff, and then Gen Z was going to come. So how many millennials, Gen Y people do we have out there? If you're a Gen Y or a millennial, shoot that hand up and let's see what the numbers are like. We should have quite a few. There we go. I know we've got more than that too. So think about that age group. We've got people right now who are in their 30s, 40s. 40, can it be 40? Not almost 40. If you're in your, late 20s or, 30s, this is a prime work time for you. So it makes sense that we would have a huge workforce, and they are actually the biggest group in the workforce at this time. What's interesting about millennials is that they were raised with it takes a village. People come together, that girl power, you can do anything. It's also everyone wins. So certificates started being given out just for showing up for sports, not keeping score and other things that, parents thought it was better, but it's also created a different dynamic for a lot of the millennials. Helicopter parents became a common term because typically it was the Gen Xers who were having children in this group range, and they were there helping them make decisions, putting them on schedules. You had to be in 10 places today, 9 places tomorrow. Third, grab lunch, drive-throughs became a huge thing for this group. And a lot of millennials are not big on cooking. They were never around a lot of cooking. Eating at restaurants and drive-throughs and eating on the run became a big part of it. Having the recessions, the 2 recessions that they've lived through, has also been part of the defining factor for the millennials. They've seen how easily jobs and money can go away. And one of the interesting things about millennials, I can't remember if I put it in the presentation or not, is that a lot of the millennials got to have their grandparents be huge influences on their lives because they would stay with them during the day when they didn't have school. That's who they got to see after work. Their parents couldn't be a part of their lives. Part of what's going on with the opioid crisis is that we have a lot of grandparents raising kids. This is a generation that had a lot of things happening to them. So millennials is an interesting group. Communication style. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but millennials really like instant, that text, that quick email. I love it when students used to say, well, you haven't answered my email. Well, when did you send it? I sent it at 2:30 this morning and we're in class at 8 o'clock. You had 6 hours. And so I had to sit down the first day of class and explain, I do not answer my phone in the middle of the night for a text. I do not do email in the middle of the night. But the millennials, that was one thing that they expected. So it was an interesting learning curve. Motivation for millennials, having a personal life. To them, it's not work-life balance. It's life comes first and then work balance. They saw a lot of the Gen Xers and the baby boomers work for companies, get laid off, get downsized, lose money. And one of the best things about millennials is they realize, I'm not killing myself for a job. I'm going to have a real life and I will have a job. And when you first work with them, people say, well, they don't care, they're not committed. It's a different perspective. They understand that personal life really should be the first priority. And it's just something the rest of us haven't really got as well. So with motivation, you've got personal life is big for them. Empowerment, having a challenge, feeling that they're valued. Again, non-traditional perks, gift cards to your local coffee donut place, get Apple Minute, all kinds of things that you can do. But it's finding out what motivates them. And one of the best ways to find out how to motivate somebody else is, look at what they get excited about. When does somebody lose track of time? What is something that they can't stop talking about in a positive way? Those are some of the motivators that we need to latch on to. Okay, I want to show you something, so I got to keep going. Millennials. Multimedia obviously is big, fast pace. Multitasking is something that they will do on a regular basis. If it's something that you need to have details, you have to explain that the attention to details is really important. So Gen Z. Gen Z is in the workplace now. Do we have any Gen Zers out there? Anybody born after 1997? If you are, put your hand up, because we're having them in the workplace now. Because think about it. You can be 18, 19, 20 years old and in the workplace. So let me see if this is going to work, everybody. For Gen Z, there is a oh, good gravy. I got too much stuff going on. So we are going to look at, quit it. Oh, come on. Here we go. So this is a Prezi. I'm going to tell you what a Prezi is and why we're doing this. A Prezi is a different way of doing a presentation. And for some reason, there we go. So this is a Prezi. And one of the big things is that if we're talking about immediate information, then what is wrong with you? So here's Prezi. The nice thing about a Prezi is that this is the big picture. This is what you're supposed to see, how things all fit together. Then you go into the presentation and you can zoom into points that you want. Part of what is appealing about a Prezi is that you get to see how things fit with each other. And watch this, and I want you to be thinking about how are you responding to this. So we have our objectives for the presentation, the characteristics, attitudes, and values of generations, identifying needs.
Yeah, Terry, there's nothing on the screen.
Dagnabbit. Brr. All right, let me go back. Jamie, thank you. I have a feeling that I wonder. Still nothing?
Yeah, I'm seeing your screen there and stuff there. It's just got the last slide that you were on there. It says generational assets. So.
I hit resume share. Okay, so it's not important. Anyway, a Prezi is a different way of doing a presentation. It's not that it's good or bad, it's just different. What is interesting about it, and we're going to leave that, is that it shows you the big picture and you zoom in and out to the parts that are being discussed. So you will show everybody the big picture in the beginning, and then you zoom into all the little parts rather than like right now with PowerPoint, you're clicking slides. And unfortunately, because we have the Prezi was the part for the Gen Z group. So now this is the summary. So I want to show you another part of technology and what is appealing. Good gravy, we need more stuff. Oh, wait a second. Stupid. All right, so if I want to put my face back on here, I lost my bar. Oh, come back, come back, come back. It's thinking, it's swirling, it's swirling, it's swirling. All right, Jamie, I can't find the one where I flip my camera. So it sees me instead of the screen. Now stop share.
Yeah, stop share.
It doesn't seem to be reacting on my end. Is it reacting for you?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. So I'm going to show you, this is what an Animoji is. Animoji. What do you think? Like it?
Hold it up a little bit, Terry.
There you go.
Here?
Up.
Better? All right, let me hit her again. Well, not hit her, you know. This is Terry Animoji.
There
What do you think? Do you like it? Could you see it? It's only 18 seconds. This is the Terry Animoji. What do you think? Do you like it? So if you've never done an Animoji before, it actually will do the facial and everything like you're doing. You have people who communicate, and that's what they're using, is the Animoji to talk to another, almost like the avatars. So it's an interesting way of communicating that is visual, but it's not. So it's just another one of those tools that we can learn to embrace or not. So let's see on the PowerPoint. Ugh, I hate to think about switching things again. Obviously having too much stuff open. But for the PowerPoint, I'll just give you the heads up without having to see it. So one of the things that I wanted to drive home for everybody is to think about how having a diverse group of employees, especially when we go back to work, we're going to be doing things in a new normal that is different. So getting input and feedback from a lot of people will help us see how we can do things better. Understanding that we have different ways of communicating, what we prefer, what motivates us, how we like technology, don't. Not all the stereotypes go right down the line with which generation you're in, but it also gives you just an appreciation that there are other people who look at things differently than what you do. So understanding that motivation, communication, technology all play a role in how we interact at work. So helping and understanding that we have different learning modes, different ways of addressing problems, trying to see how we can work together and also make each other better is a great way of doing things. We will do the other stuff in another one of these People Skills Fridays because we're running out of time. But I wanted to hit some of those highlights so that we understand that when you're in doubt, keep it simple and ask for feedback. Ask in ways that make it easier for the other person to give you feedback, and also showing respect for what they're thinking and what they're doing. Is there anybody who has a question? We have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, who has a question or anything that you want to add or ask or provide?
I'll just break in, Terry, and just tell you and the rest of the trainers kudos, because these have gotten steadily better. And today, the interactive element that you brought in was really, really great as far as keeping at least myself engaged. Well done.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I think that's one thing the trainers, that we're talking about is that we keep trying new things and bringing new information in and new technologies because we want to make it work for you, for everybody who's out there. So getting feedback on what you like and don't like helps us, guide some of what we're developing and what we're doing.
Well done.
Thank you. Oh, and I can't, I don't know how well anybody can see this, but this is the grid. If anybody wants to see all of the generations compared to each other, what motivates, how they look at technology, their preferred work environment. This is just a whole lot. There are 5 pages of resources if anybody wants to do any additional reading or YouTube videos. There's a lot of things out there that people are providing us to get more information. We have our schedule is set up for next week. We hope that everybody has a safe and healthy weekend. Please take some time for yourself and be away from work. Do what you need to do to help recharge the internal battery you have. The next People Skills Friday that we'll be doing will be in 2 weeks, and we're going to be talking about nonverbal communication, micro inequities, and a couple other little things. And I'll try to send a quiz to you before we had this so that you can be in that right frame of mind when we do it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody have a great weekend there, and stay safe.
Yep. Stay dry.
Go fishing.
Just like that.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
And thanks for the participation, everybody. I really appreciate the hands and the numbers and stuff.
What's the
I can hear somebody.
Oh, I see Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hey,
Dave!
what's going on, Terry?
What you doing? Mr. Hall signed in as James. Ooh.
What?
Were you sleeping again?
No.
Sorry.
Are we having a meeting after this or what?
Yeah. Jamie, do you mind? Don't turn this off yet. I want to go quickly through the chat. Can we meet? Would you guys be ready like in 15?
Sure.
Hey, there's Jamie.
Yeah.
Your name came up before instead of your face.
Well, I have my camera turned off, so.
Aha.
So everybody could focus on your presentation and you there, not me.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
I know I'm very distracted, so.
Well, it's funny because I had the poll everywhere and my 2 different PowerPoints, and then I had to have 2 different browsers so that I could have things work. And I think my computer at times was like, nope, we're not going to respond to whatever you think you want.
Yeah.
Need 2 laptops.
Yeah, I've got 2 laptops. Oh, well. Hopefully it works. That's all that matters in the long run.
Yeah.
It was good. I appreciated it.
Hey, we're glad to have you, Mr. GH.
Now, see, I'm not
Have
not just watching old movies all the time.
See? And reading good books, right?
Oh, I'm almost done with before the library closed. I'm gonna have to start rereading big shopping bags full of books that I took out, unless they open again.
Yeah, not having the library is killing me. I've been reading this one book very slowly.
But I've got a lot of books that I haven't read for about 30 years, so they'll be brand new again anyway.
And I've got hundreds of other books. It's just, I'm actually reading slowly just because I can't get all my work done, so then I don't have time for fun. It'll get better. I keep telling myself, it'll get better.
It'll get different.
You recorded this, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yay.
We'll look at that stuff later.
Yeah, I can, here later on there, Terry, next week there and stuff, I can send you the chat. So.
Yeah.
When it's recorded there and everything, that way if you want to look through the answers or anything like that, you can.
I love some of these answers. Man, people, this is just awesome. We have such a good group of students out there, you know it?
We do.
Got a diverse workforce.
Yes, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
See you in
Very
15.
cool.
Yeah, see you in a few.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See
You know what? You better go talk to
Hey, Bernard jumped in.
Yeah, Bernard's been on here all week, so.
Aw. Bobby Lee said that she was going to join too. I hope she got to.
She was on there.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
There are some good things about this, you know. Dave Evans, he has been dedicated. He's been on here like almost every time that I've noticed, you know.
Yeah, I had to give him a little hard time there for punching in 116. So.
Man, and some of these names, it's just so cool that they are here like every day with us.
Yeah.
All right, I made it to the end.
Okay.
Thanks, dude.
All right. I'll talk to you here in a minute.
Uh-huh.
Recover.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a popsicle.
Later, you crazy kids. I forgot to and left it rolling. I just realized I've been listening in on your conversation. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too, Ron. Take care, bud.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.